If you want smut, I'll give you smut. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is April and today we are doing a very special kind of book recommendation. They're actually some of my favorite fun books to read, and all of these recommendations are going to be 90-10 smut to plot ratio books. Yes, these are all extremely smutty books. The majority of the book is about the two couples getting it on, but there is a plot. There's just like, it's just that it's very, very small. I personally like to read these in between larger, more epic books that maybe take me a lot longer time to read, that are maybe a little bit slower in the romance or slower in the plot development. But, you know, after some of those really long, drawn out books, sometimes I just want a quick and dirty book, okay? And that's what these are. So let's get right into the recommendations. The first book that I want to recommend is Cute But Psycho by Beatrix Hollow. This book I read on Maggie's recommendation. It was an audiobook that I really highly enjoyed. It is actually a very, very long book. But there is a lot of smut in this, okay? There is just a lot of it. This book is indeed about psychos. And in the very beginning, you have a girl who is stalking her psychologist. And while she's stalking her psychologist, she notices that her psychologist is draining people's blood in his basement. So he is also a serial killer. He has her arrested for stalking and throws her into this asylum for people with powers. And the story kind of goes from there. While she's in this asylum, she meets several men. Yes, it is a why choose. And there is a lot going on in this book. It's kind of one of those why choose books where all the men have these very unique personalities and they're all fun. Like one of them is a basilisk and he can't touch anybody or else they die. And sometimes he does kill those people and then dance around the asylum with them to like Frank Sinatra. And everyone's just very horny in this book. I loved it, okay? It was great. Even though it was long, it was great. The next series, honestly one of my favorites, is the Kingdom of Stars and Shadows series by Holly Renee. You guys have heard me talk about this book so many times, but you have a girl who is blessed by the stars or something like that. So she has this power and a king wants to use her so that way he can have her power too. However, when she's on her way to the king, she starts to have feelings for the captain of the guard that is taking her there, and things go from there. The captain of the guard and the king, or the prince, I'm sorry, the prince, they are brothers and they don't like each other. But between the captain of the guard and her, it is just a smutty time this entire book. And the plot is very little. So the reason why I really do love this series is because there is very little plot. I don't subscribe to the idea that every fantasy romance needs incredibly large world building. If you tell me this side the fae people live and this side the vampire people live and then they're at war with each other, that's really all I need to know, and that's why I like this book a lot. You do get those fantasy romance elements, but you don't actually have to like spend hours invested in this story. It can just be a, again, quick and dirty fantasy romance. The romance in these books are the highlight for me. Prince Evren is just a dirty mouth shadow daddy that really just, you know, he wastes no time. He's gonna tell you exactly what he wants and then he's gonna follow through, okay? That is the greatest thing about him. This is also one of those series where I do think like it didn't need to be 3 books, but it's fine. It was just a quick and dirty, fun little ride in a fantasy romance world. And my next recommendation would be also any and I do mean any Cleo Evans book. Specifically, one of my favorites is this one, Killers and Monsters. This is like a monster mafia romance. Again, it's a throuple situation. It's very, very spicy with very little plot. But again, it's just such, it's such a good time because these three get into these situations where you're like, what are they gonna do next? And one of my favorite parts in this one is she stabs somebody. Literally highlight of the book, she stabs someone. It's in a kitchen. So I'll let you figure out what that's about. This particular book, Killers and Monsters, is about a girl who is married to a member of the mafia, and he's basically non-existent for a lot of the time and a lot of their marriage. She gets really tired of that, and she has a bodyguard that follows her around all the time. He, again, is a little bit of a stalker. He has a lot of inappropriate photos of her on his phone, but he is 100% in love with her. She finds this out and she is not really happy, but also she has also wanted him for a long time. So it gets really interesting when the husband comes back into the mix, and it's just like, it's just a really good time. Okay, really, really good time. I love Cleo Evans books. I think Cleo Evans certainly gets the 90-10 ratio quite nicely. So if you're looking for just a very, very smutty time with monsters, mafia, pick this one up. One that I read recently that honestly I was kind of surprised that it was a 90-10. I think it's actually more like an 80-20, but we'll just stick it in here because it's close enough, right? Dark City Omega by Elizabeth Stevens. This is an Omega-verse book. That is so hard to say. Try saying this is an Omega-verse several times in a row. For some reason, my mouth doesn't like it. This is an Omega-verse book, and I am not the biggest fan of Omega-verse, and there is a plot here, but I'm calling it an 80-20 because this is honestly one of those books that I skipped a little bit of the plot to get to the spicy bits because they were so good. Girl is an Omega, and in this world, the Omegas really are there to serve the alphas and the betas. Like, betas can get to be an alpha, and then the alphas get to use the Omega. You know what? The thing is really confusing, honestly, to me. But I did like the spicy bits of this book, so I'm putting it here because I definitely think it's in this 90-10, 80-20, whatever. Lots of spice to very little plot type of book, and I think it really works. Another one is Hollow by C.M. Nascosta. Now, Hollow by C.M. Nascosta is actually two different books in one. So what I'm specifically talking about is the first one in this book. And the first one is the one with the Headless Horseman in the gym. Okay. All you really need to know is that the Headless Horseman is in a gym, and I forget who else it was, walks in and sees the Headless Horseman with other Headless Horsemen doing things in a gym to each other. And their heads are watching. And that's really all I'm gonna say about that book. It was very short. And I don't even know what the goal of that one was other than to just have a nice fun time in the locker room. Okay. I really can't say more about it. just read it. It was fun. And the last one I'm gonna put in this category is The Mate Games, the entire series of The Mate Games, the first series. Basically, the plot of The Mate Games is that this girl has to mate with her 4 or 5 mates in order to stop the apocalypse. That is the entire plot, and the rest of the books are about her getting with each of these men and what she has to do to get with them. So I definitely think it falls under the 90% smut to plot ratio. These are my absolute favorite audiobooks. They are incredibly well done with incredibly, really infamous narrators, and they're all duet narrated, and they're just so good. They are pure entertainment. They have snark, they have like light moments, they have dark moments. I freaking love them. And they are perfect for when you just need a smutty good time to read in between all your other much more serious reads. And last but not least, I want to just put on here basically any book that we've read for Weird Ass Romance Book Club. If you have joined us for Weird Ass Romance Book Club, we read a lot of 90-10 smut to plot ratio books, and they are all basically 30 pages. Now, all of these books generally are what we like to call erotic humor. That's kind of the books we're looking for. If it's funny and ridiculous and short and spicy, we love it. We've read several of these books, and honestly, they are a mood. Again, they're like a palate cleanser type of book that you read in between other much more serious reads. Sometimes you need those, you know, sometimes you need that little breath of fresh air that just doesn't take itself too seriously, but just really gets down and dirty quickly. I really love a lot of them, this being one of my absolute favorites, and very closely this one. And then we also just read this one last month. It was great. So there's some more recommendations for you if you want a little weird as well in your quick and dirty romance books. Anyways, those are all the recommendations. Let me know if you have a favorite quick and dirty 90% smut to 10% plot ratio book. Again, I just think a lot of these are really important when you read a lot of serious books and then you need just something to cleanse that palate. Give your brain a little bit of a break. That's definitely what I use these books for. They are all pure entertainment and I absolutely love them. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.